home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. The Los Angeles DA has requested resentencing for the Menendez brothers who claim they killed their parents due to abuse. If approved by a judge, Eric and Lyle could be eligible for parole as they were under 26 at sentencing. The owner and operator of the ship that rammed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge earlier this year is settling with the Department of Justice. On Thursday, the DOJ announced the owners have agreed to pay nearly $102 million to settle the lawsuit following the bridge collapse. South Korea's defense ministry reported that 12,000 North Korean troops are being sent to Russia to join the conflict against Ukraine. The U.S. confirmed this with John Kirby stating they are fair game for Ukrainian defense. And a single winning Powerball ticket was sold in Georgia for Wednesday's massive $478 million jackpot drawing. The lucky ticket has a cash value of just over $230 million. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Join New Schools for New Orleans, All-State Sugar Bowl, and Entergy New Orleans in recognizing and celebrating the Teachers of the Year at our 3rd annual New Orleans Excellence in Teaching Awards, NOETA Gala. The gala will take place Saturday, November 2nd at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. This year's gala will feature Grammy-nominated Tank and the Bangers. Don't miss out on this intimate celebration supporting our New Orleans public school teachers. Tickets can be purchased on our website, newschoolsforneworleans.org.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 a.m.
Welcome to the Good Morning Show. I am Dr. Ashanta Wyatt, your host this morning. Behind the glass, holding us all together is super producer Nyron. Hey, Oliver, take your time. I'll see you soon. But listen, we are extremely close to Election Day, and y'all know I enjoy telling y'all, that early voting. This is the last weekend of early voting. Early voting will end October 29th, so you still have time to early vote. We're asking here at WBOK that you vote early. We understand that things happen. November 5th is but a short time away, but anything can happen between now and November 5th. We're asking you to get to the polls. You might have car trouble. Anything might happen. The earlier you go, the better. And once you bank that vote, you can do whatever you want after that. So please get up, get out, and vote. I'm going to go over the early voting locations for Jefferson and New Orleans. I already voted. I'm waiting for my son to get home from school so he can vote. But if you're in Jefferson Parish, you can vote at the Joseph Yenny Parish Building, 1221 Elmwood Park Boulevard, room 502. The Charles Odom Building, 5001 West Bank Expressway, Suite C2 in Marrero. You could also vote at 408 Minor Street, Kenner, Louisiana. Grand Isle Multiplex, 3101 Highway 1 in Grand Isle. The West Bank Regional Library, where I voted, 2751 Manhattan Boulevard in Harvey. The East Bank Regional Library, 4747 West Napoleon Avenue in Metairie. And the Marrero Community Center, 1861 Ames Boulevard. That is in Marrero. That center is ran by LaShonda Ramey Wells, who is celebrating a birthday today. So when y'all go into the Marrero Community Center at 1861 Ames Boulevard in Marrero, tell her happy birthday. Say Doc said to tell you happy birthday. If you are voting in New Orleans, you can vote at City Hall, 1300 Perdido Street. That's in the city. It says number 1W24. I'm assuming that's the room number, 1W24. You could also vote at the Algiers Courthouse, 225 Morgan Street, room 105. The Voting Machine Warehouse, 8870 Chef Mentor Highway. You could also vote at Lake Vista Community Center, 6500 Spanish Fort Boulevard on the second floor meeting room. And you could also vote at the Treme Community Center, 900 North Villeray Street, right here in the city. So those are the voting locations for Jefferson and Orleans Parish. If there's another place to vote and I left it off the list, please feel free to call 504-582-9422 to share your voting location that I happen to omit from the list. But we're asking you, as long as early voting is going on, please take advantage of early voting. This is the last weekend to early vote. Early voting will end on October 29th. And speaking of elections and things that are on your ballot, I'm going to always continue to talk about our district school board seats. We have 2 contested districts up for election on this ballot. That is District 2. District 2 is an open seat vacated by Ethan Ashley, who is not seeking re-election. There are 3 people vying for the District 2 seat. One of them is Gabriella Bureau. Gabriella Bureau is a hairdresser in the city. Eric Doc Jones, he runs some schools out in Baton Rouge. And we also have Chan Tucker, who is an Entergy exec. The 2nd district seat represents Gentilly, New Orleans East, in the upper 9th ward. We're asking you to get up, get out, and vote early. Just a little bit about each of the candidates. Jones began his career as a teacher in New Orleans and has stints as a band director before spending nearly 2 decades as a director of Teach for America, recruiting teachers and training them in cultural competency. Jones says he supports successful charter schools, but will push the district to take over struggling schools. He said he hoped district-run schools will initiate a return of neighborhood schools, drawing mostly students from the nearby community. He goes on to say that Leah Chase is a pathway to a neighborhood school. Jones has the endorsement of the Orleans Parish Democratic Executive Committee and the Independent Women's Organization, as well as other local groups. Gabriella Bureau, a professional hairdresser with a background in community organizing, said she was inspired to run after hearing client stories about flaws in the education system and seeing recent conservative state legislation, including a bill requiring public schools to post the 10 Commandments. She has long been involved in political activism. As a child, she accompanied her mother, who was a public school teacher, to union meetings, and as an adult, she participated in Occupy Wall Street and Black Lives Matter protests. Bureau says she supported the district running more schools, but will wait for community input on whether residents want a fully district-run system. Chan Tucker is an executive with Entergy who has amassed thousands more in donations than any other school board candidate. If elected, he said he would focus on recruiting quality teachers to the district, improving parents' understanding of the enrollment system, and enabling charter schools to share best practices and collaborate more closely. He currently serves on the board of Audubon Gentilly, a Montessori-based charter school that his 2 sons attend. He has been endorsed by the Louisiana chapter of Democrats for Education Reform, a national group that promotes charter schools. Tucker said he supported parent choice and school autonomy in both charter and direct run schools if they are successful. In the District 4 race, we have the incumbent, Dr. Donaldo Batiste. He's being challenged by Katrina Chantel Griffin. Donaldo Batiste was appointed in 2022 to fill the vacant 4 district board seat and ran unopposed in a subsequent special election. The seat represents Algiers and parts of the Marigny, Bywater, and French Quarter. Batiste began his career as a math teacher in Terrebonne Parish and has stints as a principal of John McDonough Senior High School in New Orleans, an administrator in the district central office, and superintendent of a school district near Chicago. Batiste, who strongly supported the district turning Lafayette Academy Charter School into the new Leah Chase School, said he supported moving towards having more district-run schools, but only where feasible when declining enrollment numbers. He said the board should instate a moratorium on new charter schools. Whenever there's one to be reopened, he said, instead of soliciting applications for charters, we want to directly run those schools. His challenger, Katrina Chantel Griffin, works as an accountant and does volunteer work for a plethora of community groups, including as a certified police mediator and education fundraiser. Griffin, whose 2 children graduated from New Orleans Public Schools, says she will focus on teacher retention, data transparency, and truancy. Like Tucker, Katrina Chantel Griffin is also endorsed by pro-charter group Democrats for Education Reform. She goes on to say, I don't care if you're district run or charter run. I support good schools and we need more. It's just that simple. I actually agree with that statement. We need good schools. So I'm asking you guys that if you have not gone out to early vote, that you absolutely take advantage of the early voting window. You can vote early right now until October 29th, excluding Sunday. This is the last weekend of early voting. And as we all know, Election Day is November 5th. It is not just your president race that is on the ballot. We have congressional races also on the ballot in Jefferson and Orleans Parish. And we also have some constitutional amendments that we need to take a look at. There's a measure on the ballot that's going to take 2% of the existing budget and allocate it for a housing trust fund. You need to educate yourself on that in terms of what voting for that measure would mean and what opposing that measure would mean. I know the Councilwoman Leslie Harris is in support of the 2% being allocated for the housing trust fund, but I also know that the Bureau for Governmental Research is opposing that measure. So get up and get yourself educated and informed on what is on that ballot so that you can vote and be extremely informed about what is going on. I already voted, y'all. I was so excited when I voted. I don't know why. I guess I was excited because I typically wait until Election Day to vote. But I was just like, look, let me get it out the way because as I keep telling y'all every day, anything can happen. And I just wanted to make certain that I got it out of the way so I could comfortably talk about it and continue talking about it without the pressure of worrying about, oh, I got to go and vote today. But my son is going to come home from school this weekend and he's going to also cast his vote. This will be his second time voting, and I'm very much excited that he gets to do so. Second time voting, first time for a presidential election. So it's extremely, extremely exciting and important. I also want to talk to you guys about an event that is coming up with the New Orleans United Front. The New Orleans United Front invites you to their monthly town hall meeting. It will take place Monday, October 28, 2024, from 5 to 7 p.m. at Cafe Istanbul, 2372 South Claude Avenue in the Healing Center. I, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt, will moderate a conversation with Sheriff Susan Hudson. Refreshments will be served, and if you need any more information about this event, you can contact Miss Alicia Plummer at 458-5803. So once again, that is the New Orleans United Front, and they're hosting their monthly town hall meeting. I will be the moderator of a conversation between myself and the Sheriff, Susan Hudson, that is going to take place Monday, October 28, 2024, from 5 to 7 p.m. So if you want to talk to or be in conversation with your sheriff and talk about all things public safety, please make sure that you get up and get out to the to Cafe Istanbul on Monday so that you can hear from her. Those town hall meetings are extremely informative. I actually moderated the one prior to the one that is happening on Monday, and that one was extremely important. They were talking about all things Project 2024, which 2025, I'm sorry, which tied directly into this election cycle because, as you know, a lot of the folk who were once a part of the former President Donald Trump's cabinet, and they're currently pushing this agenda for Project 2025, and they've had his full support on it. It wasn't until people started to push back on it and what the document actually contained that he started to try to distance himself from it. But I can tell you, after moderating that panel, and even before then getting to intimately know the document, because I was concerned about the Department of Education's portion on there, so I wanted to inform myself. It is scary how many times his name is mentioned to now say that he has no part in it or it's not his document. His name is mentioned over 300 times, and the document is over 900 pages long. And so you would have to wonder, for someone to allow their likeness, their name, to be used in such a manner, and then to say, I have no knowledge of it, or I don't, condone it, or that's not my document, is disingenuous, really and truly. And so we really have to inform ourselves on what is happening and what is at stake for this election. This is a former president who is saying things like, if you vote this time, you won't ever have to vote again. I don't know how you interpret that, but I interpret it as, is he trying to say that is debt to democracy? Because why wouldn't we be able to vote again simply because he's asking for our vote? And should he win, why would our right to vote be eliminated? That's, I don't know, it's pretty dictatorish in my mind. I don't understand why anyone can hear him say something like that and there's not pause on it. I mean, full stop pause. And I will say the same thing for those of us who are pushing back against Kamala in terms of all of the reasons why they can't vote for her. I respect anybody's opinion and what they want to do for themselves, but I would implore you to not just callously and cavalierly vote against your interests. And when I mean your interests, I mean your humanity. There is nothing about what the former president is offering that honors the humanity of people who look like you and I, people who come from environments like you and I. There's nothing about his policies or the things that he supports that shows any love or any acceptance of who we are and where we come from. A lot of what he's going to do is going to protect those who are already in wealthy positions that can make their choices for whatever they want to do in their lives. But for those of us who are living to try to create a family and a living for our families, it is hard out here already. And to vote for someone who consistently sidesteps your basic human rights, I think it will only get much harder. So please make certain that you are informed when you're heading to the polls. I cannot implore you enough. This is the last weekend of early voting. Early voting concludes on October 29th, with Election Day being November 5th. We're going to talk to, at the 8 o'clock hour, our people from and our partners from Delgado. We'll have Home Bank at the 8:30 segment, talking all things financial freedom. Stay with us after the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
Norman Robinson is back.
Can you hear me now?
And he's taking no prisoners.
Can you hear me now?
Each weekday, Norman Robinson brings you commentary with Off the Top.
The incident was shocking, disturbing, disgusting, disappointing, and sad.
Each weekday, Off the Top with Norman Robinson is heard exclusively right here.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning and happy Friday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's your headlines for the day. Happening today, local nurses plan to put down their charts and pick up signs to join a picket line. The newly formed nurses union at University Medical Center in New Orleans has been negotiating a contract with hospital officials since March. The nurses claim UMC has not satisfied their requests for improved working conditions. UMC says they are prepared for the strike and that patient care will be unaffected. Then tens of thousands of Taylor Swift fans will take over downtown New Orleans this weekend for the highly anticipated Eras Tour. And a heads up, if you were hoping to score some last-minute Swiftie merchandise, the Champion Square Market will only be open today to ticket holders, and once you enter the area, you cannot leave and come back in. Non-ticket holders can still purchase some swag, but you will have to head to the Smoothie King Center to do so. And if you won't be attending one of Taylor's 3 shows in New Orleans, you can still take part in many themed events. Brennan's is hosting a Champagne Problems Happy Hour fundraiser, and the Rink on Britannia Street will host a Swifties Silent Disco. Then a final reminder, early voting continues in Louisiana through next Tuesday, with the exception of this Sunday. The polls are open from 8:30 to 6 daily. That's today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU. Have a great weekend.
This is Jean Nathan from Crosstown Conversations. I'm also the executive director of the Creative Alliance of New Orleans. Let's talk about voting today, because it's unfortunate that we have to fight for our right to vote in 2024. After all the fight we have gone through to gain and retain the right to vote already. But that's the reality. and why it is so important for us to show our commitment to the American democracy by getting out to vote. More than that, work with your friends, family, neighbors, and associates to make sure they all get out to vote. If we can demonstrate our growth in numbers of votes, we can change the trends and promote a healthier dialogue about social justice, environmental, education, and housing issues. That is why your vote counts.
For everything you need to know, go to GoVote.com. That's GEAUX Vote.com.
NOLA Public Schools is excited to be on this 2024-25 school year journey with our families, watching our students dive into learning, growth, and success. As the school year continues, our dedicated educators are focused on keeping every student engaged and motivated. Let's keep embracing new challenges, celebrating achievements, and supporting each other to make the rest of this year even more impactful. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS through our social media channels for updates and resources. We're here to help our scholars. Attend today, achieve tomorrow.
Hello, this is State Senator Joe Bowie. On November 5th, we have a historic school board election in our District 2, and I am seeking your support for Dr. Eric Doc Jones. Dr. Jones is a native New Orleanian and the only educator in the District 2 race. He is committed to our children and has the courage to ensure our children and community have a quality public education system. Please join me and vote Dr. Eric Doc Jones, Orleans Parish School Board, District 2. He's number 12 on the ballot.
This is Eric Doc Jones, and I approve this message.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Hello, WBOK listening audience. This is Pastor Robert Tanner of the Community Church of River Ridge, Louisiana, inviting you to tune in to our Sunday morning broadcast at 10 a.m. every Sunday morning right here on WBOK 1230 AM. That's Community Church with Pastor Robert Tanner every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on WBOK 1230.
Welcome to Liberty Bank and Trust, where your financial journey transforms communities. Since 1972, our customized banking solutions power your dreams and fuel your community growth. Every dollar you invest with us circles back to empower more people, ensuring opportunities for generations. Join us at Liberty Bank. Together, we empower possibility. Visit libertybank.net to start banking with purpose. Liberty Bank, there's freedom here.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM. Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
Good Morning Show. I am your host this morning, Dr. Ashanta White, and behind the glass holding it all down for me is super producer Nyron. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Prior to the break, we were talking about all things what's on your ballot. And I know a lot of the questions, a lot of the heavier parts of the questions about the ballot always lies with the proposed amendments and the constitutional amendments and the home rule charters. So I wanted to briefly talk about that so people can know what's on the ballot, what a yes vote means, and what a no vote means. We're just going to make it plain. So according to the Power Coalition for Electoral Justice, there's a proposed amendment number 1 on your ballot in New Orleans, and the measure is asking, do you support an amendment to require that federal revenues received by the state generated from outer continental shelf alternative or renewable energy production be deposited into the Coastal Protection and Restoration Fund? A vote of yes would mean that you will allow federal revenues received by the state and generated from outer continental shelf alternative or renewable energy production to be deposited into the Coastal Protection and Restoration Fund. A vote of no means that you will maintain the current system where only oil and gas revenues contribute to the coastal protection efforts without including potential new revenue from renewable energy sources. So you have your choice there. You can vote yes to allow for the federal revenues to be received by the state and generated from the outer continental shelf be used, or you can vote no and maintain the current system where only oil and gas revenues contribute to the coastal protection efforts. There is also a parish-wide Home Rule Charter Amendment, Proposition number 1 of 2, and it says, shall Article 5 of the Home Rule Charter of the City of New Orleans be amended to establish a housing trust fund dedicated exclusively to ensuring the availability of affordable housing within the city, and to require an annual appropriation of at least 2% of the city's annual general fund to the Housing Trust Fund. A vote of yes supports amending the current Home Rule Charter of New Orleans to establish a housing trust fund dedicated to affordable housing, requiring an annual appropriation of at least 2% of the city's general fund. And that is the measure that Councilwoman Leslie Harris supports. She supports voting yes on this measure. A vote no opposes amending Article 5 of the Home Rule Charter of New Orleans to establish a housing trust fund dedicated to affordable housing, requiring an annual appropriation of at least 2% of the city's general fund. And the government, the Bureau for Governmental Research, opposes this Home Rule Charter. They're saying no because they're saying that the backup fund is more than enough to do it. They don't want to lock in a vote to make it binding and lock up those funds when they're saying the backup fund does the same thing. There is also a parish-wide Home Rule Charter Amendment, Proposition 2 of 2, and it says, shall Article 2, Section 202 of the Home Rule Charter of the City of New Orleans be amended to include rights for workers, as described in Ordinance Number 29864. Among other rights contained in the Municipal Bill of Rights, a yes vote supports amending Article 2, Section 202 of the New Orleans Home Rule Charter to include worker rights. A vote no opposes amending that article of the New Orleans Home Rule Charter to include worker rights as outlined in the ordinance. And the people from the Power Coalition are asking you to vote yes on both of these amendments, the Parish Home Rule Charter 1 and Charter 2. And like I said, that's the heaviest part of the ballot, and it's the down part of the ballot. And those of us who are familiar with how folk typically go in uninformed and they either skip it altogether or they just press something and leave out the boot. We're asking you to vote bottom up on the ballot so that you can take your time and read these amendments and choose the one that you're most comfortable with. And then you can go up the ballot and vote for your congressman and vote for your president, because that way we'll make certain that every ballot and every measure on the ballot counts. So please get out and vote. That was what's on your ballot for Orleans Parish. In Jefferson Parish, there's also a proposed amendment number 1. And they're proposing to amend Article 7 of Section 10 of the Constitution of Louisiana relative to federal proceeds from alternative energy production on the outer continental shelf. It sounds very, very similar, if not mirroring the same proposed amendment that is for New Orleans, to take those funds to protect the renewable energy production, to deposit it into the Coastal Protection and Restoration Fund. So a vote of yes would allow federal revenues received by the state and generated from the outer continental shelf, alternative or renewable energy production, to be deposited into the Coastal Protection and Restoration Fund. A vote no means you would maintain the current system where only oil and gas revenues contribute to the coastal protection efforts without including potential new revenue from renewable energy sources. So that measure mirrors the measure that is also on the ballot in New Orleans. You vote yes or no for that amendment. There's a parish-wide proposition also on the ballot for Jefferson Parish, and it reads, shall the Jefferson Parish Charter be amended to include within the unclassified service any at-will employees hired to work directly in the office of the parish president or a parish council member by adding section 4.03A to the Jefferson Parish Charter to read as stated in section 1 of the Jefferson Parish Ordinance number 26767, adopted on April 17, 2024. And I know, y'all, that's a lot of words to read, and we're just going to make it plain for you. So a vote of yes means you support amending the Jefferson Parish Charter to include certain employees of the parish president or parish council members in the unclassified service. Unclassified service means these employees will be considered at-will employees, meaning they could be hired or dismissed at the discretion of their employer without the protections or requirements of the classified civil service system, which typically provides job security and protections like merit-based hiring and dismissal. A yes vote will give the parish president and parish council members more flexibility in the hiring and firing of their direct staff. A no vote means you do not support amending the charter. This will maintain the current system where these employees may remain in classified service, providing them with certain employment protections under the civil service rules. A no vote will maintain the current protections for those employees under civil service rule. So if you're in Jefferson, you have those amendments and propositions on the ballot. I am in Jefferson. I won't tell you, one way or the other how to vote. But what I will tell you is what I believe. I believe anybody who is working has the right to due process, has the right to make certain that their humanities are valued. I don't want to be anywhere where you can just at your discretion dispose of me without giving me the opportunity to have a say or to go through a process that respects not only my humanity, but the due process that should be due everybody who comes to work and does their best. And then there are no protections put in place for them. So you do with that information what you will, but just make certain that you understand what at will means and what classified and unclassified means. So if you're classified, you have those protections. If you're unclassified, you're at the discretion of those who are in the hiring and firing business. So there's that on that. So let's not forget, this is the last weekend of early voting. It will conclude on October 29th. The polls are open from 8:30 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. Check your voter registration and find your polling place at govote.com. Please make sure we're getting out to vote. Listen, y'all, we are how many? About 11 days, I believe, away from election, Nyron? Is it 11? Something like that? It's 11. It's 11 days until election. And we want to make certain that here at WBOK, we're doing our very best to inform you. If there's anything on your ballot that you still have any sort of apprehension about, you need extra clarity about, the number here is 504-582-9422. I will do my best to try to get you that information, whether I have to look it up, get it out my brain, or rely on OT. But we're going to make certain that you have all of the information, that you are well informed about what is on your ballot, the politicians in the community who are supporting those measures, and then the organizations and nonprofits who are opposing those measures. So just make certain that you do your best to inform yourselves and get up to date on what is happening on our ballot. I do believe that the most important race on the ballot is our school board race, but I'm speaking from a parent and educator perspective. I do know how important the presidential election is, but I also understand the positions in politics that have the closest and most impactful experiences on us, and those are our local elections. And so if you want to call in and you have a question or you need some clarity regarding what's on your ballot, the number here is 504-582-9422. Good morning, Reverend Calhoun. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. I see you're solo in this morning.
I am.
All right. What I really wanted to announce is that we have free rides to the polls tomorrow here in the Lower 9. We have the NAACP Power Coalition, Lower Nine Voters Coalition, Asia Baptist Churches all come together to provide rides to the poll tomorrow from 9 to 5. Coleman's cab company, one of the oldest black cab companies that still is in existence, will help us provide rides to the poll. So we just wanted to make that announcement that if anybody need a ride, we'll be over at Fats Domino and St. Claude, the old Family Dollar building, providing rides to the polls. In terms of a question, I heard the debate that at least what came on about the homeless and the home rule, changing the charter.
Mm-hmm.
Is when you change the charter, does that not happen on a statewide? To change the charter in New Orleans, is it a constitutional change with the state charter?
You're
I don't know
asking.
if you understand my question.
You're asking if it's a constitutional change?
Yeah, I'm asking does the whole state vote on this, or is it just us, the citizens of New Orleans, saying that we want to see this home rule charter change?
Well, the way that it reads on the ballot measure, it says parish-wide homeroom charter amendment proposition.
So that means it's just to this parish.
Yes, that's what it says.
I do remember when Senator Bishop wanted to do something in terms of reducing the price of property in the lower Ninth Ward, that it took the state to approve it. So I'm not understanding anymore. So this is just to the citizens of New Orleans have the authority to make the decision.
Yes, it literally reads parish-wide homeroom charter, and there's one of two. And as I read earlier, that first one deals with that housing trust fund, and then the second one is about the rights of workers. And so those are just parish-wide homeroom charter amendment propositions.
Okay. All right, then you didn't answer my question.
Well, thank you for calling as always. We appreciate you here at the Good Morning Show. Have a good one. So yeah, like I welcome all of those questions. Like I said, if I do not know the answer, I will gladly get you the answer or lean on someone who has the answer. But I just so happen to have the ballot here in my hand, and so I was just reading directly from the ballot, and it explicitly says parish-wide. So I am going to go out on a limb and say that it's just for Orleans Parish because it says parish-wide. It doesn't necessarily deal with the state of Louisiana, just the parish of Orleans in terms of those proposed amendments and homeroom charter amendments. And so thank you for your question, Reverend Calhoun, and I hope that provided some clarity for you. And I also want to say, look at OT. Hey, OT. He was actually answering your question too, Reverend Calhoun, by phone. As I was also reading it, but welcome.
Oh,
you look nice this morning.
Oh, thank you very much.
I don't know if y'all can see him, but he looked nice
this
morning.
I got Daddy Sunday with Kendall, my grandson,
KJ,
at his school. And, of course, unfortunately, his father can't make it, so I'm filling in.
Oh, good. Yeah. Look, so before we go to break, Olive, I was getting ready to talk because a couple people went to vote, and they realized the school district person they voted for in the previous election has now changed.
Right.
So one of my friends went to vote, and she would typically be in the district where I would say I think Eric Jones is running now.
Dr. Jones.
Now she's Nolan's district. And so when she reached out and asked, I didn't even know that the boundaries had changed. So was that a part of that congressional boundary change?
No, it was part of the redistricting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that. And so some folks, she's like the third person that asked me, because initially I was saying, well, if you don't see a district school board seat, then you don't live in a district that's being contested.
Right.
But she was adamant. She was like, no, I voted for this person.
Yeah. So the boundaries have changed
prior
to the last day. But the home rule charter means home rule charter.
Yeah.
So when it's a home rule charter change, then that's strictly the people who live inside the parish.
Yeah.
Now, there's parts of the home rule charter that are tied to the state constitution.
Okay.
So when Senator Bishop tried to do a property amendment change as it relates to purchasing or dispensing of property, then those things that deal with property owners, much of the property rights and revenue
So that became a
are
state
tied
issue.
to our state constitution.
Okay.
So, which is crazy because then we need everyone in the state
To
to
agree
either
on something
deny
that's here.
or,
Yeah.
or approve. Yeah.
That's weird.
Which is what we're hoping our legislative delegation gets us free.
Yeah.
Some freedom.
Yeah.
From issues like that.
Yeah. So we have another caller. Good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show, Wendell.
Good morning, Wendell.
Good morning. No, good morning. I'm glad all of us in. How you doing this morning?
Oh
OT?
man,
How you doing, Dr.
good
Wyatt?
brother. I'm good, man.
Good. Listen, I want to go back to earlier this week when a few days ago. I wanted to wait until the end of the week to hear some of the conversations and topics and all before calling in. But then, driving downtown yesterday from work, I kind of got aggravated. So let's go back to that question. The question you all asked earlier this week, wanted to know why, when folk were saying they were not going to vote for, Kamala or they were just disenchanted, why? I'll tell you what made me feel that way yesterday. Not about Kamala, but I can kind of give an answer. When I drove down yesterday and I see how the city of New Orleans is making all of these changes for Taylor Swift to come into the city. Now I got to be honest and tell it. When I see us in our positions allowing this type of foolishness to happen, then you're doing all of these little cleanups and everything for the Super Bowl a few months later.
Yeah.
We have two young ladies from New Orleans East who solved a 2,000-year-old mathematical problem. We're talking about education all the time, right?
Yeah.
I did not see any big fanfare, and this was a nationwide recognition. These kids were on the national news. In fact, that's how I found out about it.
Well, WBOK on our show was the first public space to honor them. It was actually me and our producer. We were the first public space to honor them. We did it before even the local media
Anyone else did it.
Yeah.
Kudos to you, Oliver. Kudos to you. But with such a feat, no one thinks that makes more sense to honor, recognize them, fanfare them, ticker tape parade those folk or whatever, clean the streets up, fix the red lights, patch the potholes up so that their parade can go through smoothly. And then when you come back and ask that question, you need to know why. Let me tell you something. When you see the same thing happening over and over again and you feel like you're the ones who are being disenfranchised every go-round, they start looking at people such as Kamala and others alike as just another politician who keeps coming through, promising us something that they're not going to deliver on. It's almost an insult to it should be an insult to everyone in the city of New Orleans to see how this city is making such a big uproar over a singer. She hasn't done anything in this city to really make any changes. Okay, I signed 2,000 autographs because it rained the last time I was here. Okay, fine. Has she contributed any money to the homeless population or any of the stuff that these folk are around here trying to clear up to make sure Taylor doesn't see the ugly, bad side of New Orleans, which we have to see every single day?
Well, we definitely talked about that topic yesterday.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, at our public meetings, I was a little facetious when I talked about the Swifty Bowl and the Stupor Bowl. I said, I mean the Super Bowl. You're absolutely correct. That adds to the frustration. Man, I met with a group of educators last night, man. We had a real intense discussion about at what point do the citizens of New Orleans become first. Dr. Wyatt has said, she said the other day, she said maybe the elected officials and business community ought to let the visitors vote for who we have because the tourists seem to matter more than the people who live every day. And that's been a discussion here. But no, Lindell, you're absolutely correct. And your frustration is valid, and people should begin to realize that. Thank you, good brother.
Thank you for your call.
Absolutely.
Listen, we have to go to break, but we are going to continue having this conversation after the break because it's an imperative one. So stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM.
Hey, the station you're talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
It's another warm and dry forecast for today. Actually, that trend continues for the next several days and beyond the weekend. Highs for today will rise to the low to mid 80s, possibly close to some upper 80s on the North Shore. And then as we look ahead to Friday, another warm day continues for the weekend. Staying dry, temperatures will be into the mid 80s. For the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Tired of the impersonal, one-size-fit-all style of banking? You deserve a bank that delivers exceptional service and personalized attention to your needs. That's the Home Bank Standard. Since 1908, Home Bank has been a trusted financial partner for businesses and families because we go the extra mile to help you reach your goals. See for yourself why Home Bank is good for business, good for life. Stop by any New Orleans area location or find out more at home24bank.com. Home Bank, member FDIC.
Dr. Donaldo Batiste stands with our families, fighting for better schools, charter and traditional.
It's simple. Strong traditional public schools are necessary, as are strong and thriving charters. Our kids deserve options that work for them.
His opponent? She's taken thousands from national charter school donors. They want charters to dominate New Orleans, but Dr. Batiste believes in balance and local control.
No dark money, just a focus on what's best for all students.
Vote for integrity. Vote for Dr. Donaldo Batiste.
This message is approved by and paid for by Friends to Elect Dr. Donaldo R. Batiste.
Greetings, WBOK family. This is Jason Clark, host of United Way and You. Be sure to tune in next Thursday at 12 p.m. when we'll be speaking with Melanie Richardson, co-founder and executive director of Training Grounds, a United Way funded partner. The topic will be the We Play, We Connect Family Resource Hub. Please tune in if you're able. Until then, we only have one life to live, so live united.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
The National World War II Museum. Located in the Warehouse District of New Orleans, the National World War II Museum tells the story of America's experience in the war that changed the world, why it was fought, how it was won, and what it means today. Visit them online at www.nationalww2museum.org for time tickets and safety information.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
Back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show.
Yes, we are back.
OT here dancing, y'all. He feeling good. Happy Fridays.
Yeah.
Friday. It's your favorite day, huh? Sliding on into the weekend.
It really is, man. Fool around Friday, fun Friday, freaky Friday, family Friday. You know, whatever kind of Friday.
Well, listen, but we're gonna keep it on this the topic about this election and how important our local elections are. And you and I were talking about the school board races, and you went to an event last night.
Man, I had a really, really powerful discussion with about 12 educators and administrators, really to let me know how they feel. The topic was similar to Lindell's comments about, you know, and one of the most profound pieces is something that I've heard you, Mr. Retha, Kev, and y'all group talk about consistently was that the coordination and efforts between the powers that be, along with our educational system and our kids. How, they have all these separate entities that operate, but they should not be separate in terms of their mission to provide quality education and quality communities. One of the heaviest pieces that I got from a couple of senior and elder administrators was, well, hold on a second, right? So I can do everything right? Like Dr. Wyatt could do everything right in her school. Her teachers could do everything right in the classroom. And the city and the state hadn't prepared an environment that's right for them when they step out of your environment.
Right.
So what is our responsibility for working with them that, and instead of just not blaming them? And I heard that a few times too. Everybody wants to blame the teachers, right? They want to blame the family members. They want to blame the administrators. And sometimes that's rightly so. But when we do it right, where can our kids go? Why can't they walk down or past their schools with 10 feet of grass, right? And trash and blighted property?
But the reality is, not every child is experiencing that.
Correct.
And that's the real conversation.
Well, I was talking to 100% African American.
Right.
Educators.
And so that should have been alarming in and of itself, right? Because that's not the experience of every child or every family in the same city. So how is it that you could go to one zip code and have one experience, and you come to a different zip code and have a different experience, but we're all one city. We have one city council. We have one mayor. So how is that possible that that's happening?
And that was one of the young administrators who said, don't y'all get in the room?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you would think. You would think, because for me, you and I were talking off air, we've allowed certain entities to spin a false narrative about the realities of not only our community, but more specifically our school system. And that's the fallacy that they're operating off of to justify what they're doing here in our city. Because if you believe in the fallacy, then what you think you're doing, you actually think that you're Superman and you're coming to rescue something. But you got to be honest. We were not downtrodden and dilapidated when you got here. We had a few issues, yes. You fix the issue, you don't demolish the entire system.
Great point. What was really interesting and enlightening to me was the clarity of thought in those educators and administrators about public education, period.
Yes.
Right? And I was really, really impressed that most of them were like, hey, man, we just want a quality city, quality schools.
But if that is what you want, then the conversation has to be honest. Because when you hear them say that, now you're borrowing talking points from what this side has always said. It matters not. What even Dr. Joseph Bowie has not come out and say demolish the whole charter system. No, he said keep what works, replicate what works. But if it's not working, you take those that are struggling and you send them back to their rightful owner and say you take over, because we can't close our way out of failure and we can't continue to replicate failure.
We cannot.
We cannot do that.
F to F don't work.
Listen, and
D to F
and we
to
got
D
to
to
stop talking
F
about
to D
growth,
don't work.
and we have to start talking about proficiency. Because you can grow and still grow failure. But if you're proficient in something, that's a different conversation.
But the one thing is, if I can wrap this back into Lindell's comments, is that, okay, let's say your schools aren't the best, right? Let's say your family and you're challenged economically in terms of your environment, right? It doesn't mean that the streets can't be paved on time. It doesn't mean that the blight can't be dealt with more effectively and efficiently.
What I'm hearing you talk about is the broken windows theory, right? Because you know that's the truth. I absolutely agree with you. But again, the broken window, the stuff, the streets, that is not the experience of everybody in the city.
It doesn't mean when I apply for my permit, I got to wait a year when it only ought to take at most a month.
Or when we're watching people walk into our communities and walk out of our communities with more than they came with, and we've been here, gonna live here, gonna die here, and we die with nothing.
I talked about it. It doesn't mean that we have to continue to be a pass-through.
We were treated like stepchildren in an environment that we built.
But think about it, Dr. Wyatt. You and I are examples, right? I've explained my life to people, man, and the challenges, right, and the ups and downs and what we had to go through, right, not knowing that we were even poor, right. I talked to a group the other day at the council. They were talking about housing. I said, you said, do you know I never had my own room? And I remember living in a place where that one room was for my parents. The rest of us had to find space.
Absolutely. And we did it.
So don't preach to me, right?
And we did it.
But Our neighborhood wasn't strewn with litter.
Right.
It wasn't dirty.
Right.
Right. We didn't. The community didn't make us feel like we were just on the other side of the tracks all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now people feel like they're on the other side of the tracks. They don't get the same resources. They don't get the same attention. They don't get the same productivity.
And that's the truth.
And Lindell is saying, but it can be productive for the Swifty Bowl.
Yes.
We can be productive and efficient and on time for the Super Bowl.
The same way we talk about.
Why? Because you said we're preparing it for the tourists and the visitors.
Yes. And I know we have to go to break, but I want to make this point too. That's no different than how we see the disparities in policing. Right. There's right now a man that shot at the Jefferson Parish Police Department. There was a shooting, and he walked away alive. So you're not telling me that there's a problem with policing. You're telling me that the way you police is predicated upon who you're policing. That's the message that you're sending to us. And whether right or wrong, that is my experience.
I'm glad you said policing, because it's not.
That's my experience.
It's not just about race. It was the black officers who did what they did in Memphis.
Right? No. And guess what? There was black officers who did what they did in Jefferson Parish, and we watched them pay the price for doing what they did.
And that's why it's important to erase the stereotype, especially of blackness and what it is.
Yes.
And because too many black people don't have faith and don't see the splendor and the greatness in blackness.
And it also means
we need to get rid of the stereotype.
It also means that you're black before you're blue. Blue is not humanity. Blue is a uniform. Black is how you were born. So let's understand the difference. We have to go to break. I hate when we in the middle of a real good conversation.
Well, you know, we always going to be on fire.
We got to drop it. But stay with us after the break. We're going to talk to our partners from Delgado at the 8 o'clock hour. This is WBOK 1230 AM.
The station you talk about all day long.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. A new poll says most Americans expect violence after Election Day. In the Scripps News Ipsos poll, nearly 2 in 3 said violence is very likely or somewhat likely after November 5th. Ozempic could lower Alzheimer's risk among those with type 2 diabetes. That's according to a new study using data from the CDC researchers at Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine. They found that those prescribed semaglutide, the main ingredient in Ozempic, had a 40 to 70% reduced risk of developing Alzheimer's. Police in Detroit, Michigan are investigating the theft of a statue from Rouge Park honoring the late Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson, who fought in World War II as a Tuskegee Airman. He was a prisoner of war in Germany and returned home to Detroit to become a teacher. And Justin Timberlake is postponing more shows. The singer posted that 6 of his Forget Tomorrow World Tour concerts will be rescheduled so he can recover from bronchitis and laryngitis. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Join New Schools for New Orleans, Allstate Sugar Bowl, and Entergy New Orleans in recognizing and celebrating the Teachers of the Year at our 3rd annual New Orleans Excellence in Teaching Awards, Noetta Gala. The gala will take place Saturday, November 2nd at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. This year's gala will feature Grammy-nominated Tank and the Bangers. Don't miss out on this intimate celebration supporting our New Orleans public school teachers. Tickets can be purchased on our website, newschoolsforneworleans.org.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show.
Back on topic, baby.
Listen,
look, okay, well, look, the table's been set, right? The table's been set every day we come here. But I think, Lindell, when you talk about a fire topic for our listening audience, right? How do you feel, right? How do you feel when you see the city deliver services on time, right? The budget's not the problem. The work is done efficiently, effectively for an event for folk that ain't from here. Give us a call, man. I really want to know. So what Lindell said was that, well, hold on a second, man. Look, I can understand some frustration with everybody from Kamala to OT when I see things being done and the city being prepared for everybody but those of us who live here.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Yeah. But those are it's the truth of the matter. And that's the truth for me will always be the foundation by which we have to start having conversations. Because if you're disingenuous in your stance, then there's no way we can reach a real conclusion.
Right.
The truth is we are disenfranchised in our own city. The truth is those same disenfranchised people is the people that you're leaning on to put you in office, and you can't do nothing for me. But when somebody come and visit who has a whole lot of wealth and a whole lot of prestige, then it's like, oh, we need to clean up. We can't have our guests. We can't have our guests in. And you know when company come,
right?
How you straighten up the house for them. That's what they doing. They're straightening up the house for Taylor and all the people she's going to bring into the city. But when she leaves,
504-582.
When she leaves,
9422. And to back up Lindell in terms of his comments, the last time there was a coordination meeting, wondering if all projects will be done on time in preparation for Taylor Swift. And the Super Bowl, they said that everybody was on schedule.
Well, I'm glad. We could open up this conversation even more because see, that's what I like to do. I like to push. I want to push because speaking of when we have
504-582-9422.
When we have events, I want to understand how is it in the city that certain businesses and certain communities are closed for maintenance every time there's an event for the melanated populations of this community. And it happens all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
There are restaurants in the French Quarter and there are restaurants
allowed to do
downtown.
That, they're allowed to
close for the Bayou Classic.
Absolutely. And they're allowed to institute gratuity on your bill when it's just one of you or two of you because they're under the impression that you might walk out on this bill and you know what I mean? Like, why do we allow people to come into our and oftentimes these people who own these places are not even native to this community, and you're going to come into my community and treat me like I don't belong here, not serve me, and we allow them to do it every single year.
Yeah, that was a discussion that we had years ago.
How are they allowed to operate?
With Tracy Washington, I think again with the professor right here on WBOK in terms of how it's so convenient.
Yeah.
That every time there's Essence.
Yes.
Or there's Bayou Classic.
Yes.
That you're closed for renovation.
For maintenance.
Closed for
that
maintenance.
Building ought to be highly maintained at this point, right? It ought to be like proof, like hurricane proofed, storm proofed. Leak proof. I mean, you're doing maintenance every single time, but I guarantee none of those people will close for Super Bowl or for this Taylor Swift influx that's about to happen. Every business that I'm talking about, if you go out there and they're open and they're ready to serve the public, but when it's
we didn't even fix the streets for Beyonce.
Yeah, you're right. Right.
Well, let me stop.
No, you don't have to stop there. If y'all want to join in on this conversation, it's 504-582-9422. Good morning, Kingfish. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. God bless you, man.
Good morning, Oliver and the young lady. I have a grave complaint.
Talk to us,
I wish
King.
they would fix the street in front of Sidney Callier Delgado from Sheffman to Florida Avenue.
Ooh, the roller coaster.
Louisa Street is terrible.
Ooh, that's a
I know
roller
you're
coaster.
fixing to bring those people on. Tell them to fix the street in front of that.
Kingfish, I got a solution.
That's Johnny Jackson Boulevard.
I got a solution for you.
That's correct. But and before I forget, because I'm a senior citizen and I'm visually impaired.
Right.
And another thing, yesterday you had Eugene Green on with the affordable houses. He ought to be shaming himself. Mr. Green, you ought to be shaming yourself. You put in those houses for $1,200 a month, and the people voucher ain't but 6 and 7. Shame on you. Don't do us that in the upper night ward talking about how many houses you're building and going. They're not for the people in my neighborhood.
Hey, King, I'm gonna share the information again about Johnny Jackson Boulevard because it's like a roller coaster ride, man.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And another thing, the Desire Florida Community Center is promoting rats. I stay right on the side of it, less than 200 feet. Rats walk like men all day, and that's why nobody catches that Louisa bus. at the bus stop because the rodents is terrible in this neighborhood.
I'll mention
I mean,
I'll mention that to Oscar and them over by the center, and I'll make
That's
sure they
right.
know. All right, King.
Thank you for your call. We
All
appreciate
right,
you.
King.
Lines are lit, huh?
Yeah.
Good morning, Chris. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. God bless, Chris.
Good morning. God bless you all as well. Yeah, I think the businesses that choose to close for our melanated events stay closed. We need to double down and invest in the restaurants and places where we commune, like Ty Nola, right?
Yes.
Like Orleans Brothers.
Absolutely.
Like Weedads on Canal Street.
That's right.
Black-owned business. Go eat there. Eat there. We don't need to bring our money nowhere else. We need to double down on our community. So if you like Vion's, right? Black-owned.
Right.
Am I correct?
That's right.
So go there. Don't take your money nowhere with it. If their doors are closed, keep your doors closed. We're not spending no money there, not never. And that's the part that I feel like we need to double down on. We need to hold each other more accountable. It's been plenty of times I've driven through my neighborhood in New Orleans East, driving down Bundy. People will stop at the intersection of Bundy and Dwyer and empty the trash from their car, and I stand behind them and I blow the horn.
Yep.
I take a picture of their license plate and I snitch. I'm snitching.
Well,
I'm
technically,
snitching.
it's not snitching, Chris, because you ain't a part of the
Yeah,
problem. Like
that
if you
ain't
go
snitching.
commit a
You
crime with
understand
somebody,
me?
that's
Yeah.
snitching.
No, but
you doing your
here's
civic duty.
Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. It is a cultural shift that needs to happen with our people.
I agree.
It is a cultural shift.
Hey, Chris.
We are willing to run our own place ragged, and then we cry and whine when don't nobody come and clean it up. You made it dirty.
Chris, we
You
got to
clean it
challenge
up.
our own. Chris, do you remember when the young African-American young man was killed at Razzouz in the French Quarter? And there was the picking and the shut it down. And then every week it was young black folk who was still going there after they had mistreated and actually killed. I think the bouncer had set on the guy's neck. Something. That was one of our first George Floyd incidents right here in New Orleans. But the problem is that for those of us who protested, it was our own many young folk from our own community who were still going there.
Yeah.
We have too many of our own that don't value us, that don't value their own community, that want to pander to white folk, that want to pander to these people in these high places who are going to do nothing for you. You need to be focused on your community at large. You need to make sure that you're voting in your best interest. That goes for the elderly people that are listening as well. Don't just go to the polls and vote no on amendments that you haven't read because you at the bottom of your mountain. You have a generation behind you that you should be voting for. So that's my 2 cents on the dollar.
Appreciate
you so much. We appreciate it.
And Chris, thank you so much for calling, man.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you. The lines are lit up, Oliver. It's a conversation happening on this Friday.
Absolutely.
Good morning, Larry.
Relevant
Welcome
topic.
to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, Big Larry.
I like to say hello to Kingfish. We call him Rap Brown.
Oh yeah.
He stays on Desire in Florida. He owned businesses at one time. He's a little elderly now and he can't see that well. And I want to say hello to Kingfish, but we call him Rap Brown because he was a community activist. But I'm getting back at you guys, what you guys was talking about. I don't really get upset at people that look out for their own, like Taylor Swift. Them people were out there by the groves with their children. And you know what? The tickets was $1,300. And then I think, and I'm not mistaken, that the highest price was $100,000. I said, no, I must not have heard that right. But, you know, they look out for each own. So what's wrong with that? I'm asking you guys. What's wrong with them looking out for their people?
No, I don't. I don't think anything is wrong with them. My
all.
commentary is focused on
our
city, our community,
Great
our
question.
council, our mayor, all of the people who are in decision-making positions on behalf of the constituents here. That's what I'm talking about. How do we allow this as a city for businesses to operate in discrimination of other groups of people in this community? That's what my point was.
But you're my color, but you might not be my kind.
I agree.
Well, so don't use that word loosely.
Larry, Larry, I was broached with that conversation last night when I was meeting with a group of high-level educators and administrators, right?
Yeah.
And we actually talked about incidences that why isn't there a level of collaboration within our own community? Why do we get upset when others come together around their own special interests? And let me say, on the surface, right, that's right. You can say that.
Yeah, you can.
But there's a deep dive
Absolutely.
into that in terms of social
we
conditions.
know that. I think we know why we've been, the Willie Lynch theory,
right?
It comes into play. Some people say it's not valid, but it could be. We understand why we don't have the togetherness.
But Larry, let me say this. This is important, right? Mm-hmm. And thank you for bringing that up. I'll never forget. I gave the story of the New York drug dealer who was trying to get a direct connection. He was trying to do like Frank Lucas, right? So he had enough money, flew to China to make so he could get a direct connect. So he's there in conversation with the Chinese godfathers, talking about setting up their pipeline from China to New York. And the godfather, the Asian godfather he was talking to, was reminding him of how much they loved black culture and how black folk were influenced. He said, but the only thing y'all can't do is stick together. Well, so his impression of black folk is, we can do all this stuff, but we can't stick together. Yeah, but I think we've bought into that too much, because if we didn't have some sense of collaboration and sticking together, man, we'd still be on the plantation.
That's true.
We wouldn't be here at all. We wouldn't have had civil rights.
I'm hard on us, but I'm trying to be as fair. I want us to do better. That's all.
No, I absolutely agree with that. But 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. When you hear it enough. When you hear it, it's like whenever I would talk to parents at schools, right? I would sit down with them and I would talk about positive reinforcement, right? When you tell a kid, I'll never forget, my English teacher told me one time, man, no, it was Otto, one of my good buddies. She told Otto, she said, "You just so stupid all the time." He stood up and he said, "I know. You tell me that every day."
Damn right.
You just like your daddy. You just like your mama. You ain't never going to be nothing. When Neely Fuller Jr. and Amos Wilson talked about changing a code of conduct, it's how we deal with and how we talk with each other. It doesn't mean we don't fall short, but if you can't see the splendor in a black face, right? If you can't see the beauty in a black face and a black smile, even a black struggle, then all we're doing is perpetuating the same Willie Lynch theory that we bought into.
Well, tell me this, Alan, before I leave. Why do some of us buy into it and others don't?
Because one size don't fit all. Go ahead, Dr. Wise.
And because it leans directly into your lived experiences, right? If you've never had the experience of something, that is why you can't understand it. That's why you feel like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But you're not thinking about the fact that the bootstraps was handed to you. I have to go figure out where the bootstraps are to even put them on the boot to strap them up. It's about your lived experience, and that is why people have different perspectives on different things, because they've not been ingratiated in certain cultures and certain struggles that they feel far removed from.
Larry,
every time
I've been stupid or really wrong, it's because I never had that moment of enlightenment until I got it.
You ran into the wall, and now you know the wall is there.
Or I ran into to the person.
Yeah.
Do you think that we as people, our things have been that differently, our experiences?
Yes.
I'm talking to the lady. You think it's been that much difference in us?
I do. Which
is why
you
from a Fisher, right?
I am.
I'm from the 6th Ward and Desire. Lafitte and Desire. I didn't see a whole lot of difference that you say we had. Not a lot. I seen a little bitty minute, but not no big ones.
Yeah, but that's
We all
that's
suffered.
your experience. The other people have experiences where they do
Where
see
in the world? Tell me where.
a whole lot. What do you
Tell
mean
me
where?
where.
So
I'm
you
listening.
want so because you didn't experience something, you want to take away or diminish the experiences of other people. And I'm here to say that that's disingenuous. It's not just, because I don't like the word fair anymore because it has so many, meanings. But it's not just to say simply because you didn't see it or experience it that the other people can't be experiencing this. They can't be, going through things that I've never seen happen. We had a totally different experience on the West Bank than New Orleanians had on the East Bank. That's a fact.
Most of the people from the
That's a fact.
they came out the Ninth Ward.
That's a fact. And so for
They
me,
came out the Ninth, so we had the same experience, sweetheart.
No.
Ninth Ward.
No, we did not, Mr. Larry. And I'm just going to say this. I appreciate your experience for what it was. And all I'm asking you to do is appreciate what I say mine is. You can't
I do, though. I do.
But that's not how you're talking to me. You're talking
Yeah,
to me
but
like
I'm
you're
talking
saying.
because sometimes I'm a little, I guess because I'm a little more older.
Uh-huh.
He's a lot older than
Hey,
you.
listen to me.
Larry, you're a
Listen
lot
to
older
me.
because you older than me.
But
I'm older than you are.
Here's the thing,
and
Larry.
we walking around as living history.
Yeah.
And some of us don't want to listen to people that have had living history.
No,
when we tell you
I
guys,
absolutely want
although
to hear
you're
from you.
doctors,
Yeah, and that's one of the things.
although you're doctors,
But Larry, that's one of the things. Larry,
dissertation on certain things, you think you might know the answer, but
That's right.
sometimes you might be a little off.
Absolutely. Hey, but it's at that 20 point. We got to go. We got to go to
we
break.
gotta go, but thank you, Larry.
Absolutely. No.
No, listen, I agree with
Yeah.
him. And I think it's hard sometimes for people to hear other
Right.
folk when they're also trying to
Right.
talk and get a point.
Yeah.
So if you either want to hear me to understand me or you want to hear me to refute something that I'm saying. But what I'm saying is this: lived experiences are important. I cannot discredit your lived experience because I didn't go through the same things.
Right.
And I do want to hear from you. I tell you all the time, I'm not an expert in every lane. The
Right.
lane I'm in, I've
Right.
mastered this.
Right.
I could drive in this lane right here. That's why when the question came earlier, I said if I don't know it, I'll find it out or I'll lean on OT because I know the political lane is what you live in. So I want black men to understand that I am not your enemy. I love you, and I want to have conversations.
Darren,
with
you want us to go through
with
it?
you, not against you.
Yeah.
We can take another
And-
caller.
Yeah, and all I know is I was stupid till I wasn't.
Yeah, and but the thing is, we have to be able to listen and appreciate other people's perspective
No
and
doubt about it.
viewpoints so that we can have a robust understanding of something. Don't shut mine out because it's different from yours. Aaron, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning
Aaron.
Show.
Good morning. How y'all
Good
doing?
morning, great one.
Yeah, you're right. Appreciate you. First, shouts out to the Fatherhood Roundtable as well as the People's Political Party. To answer Brother Larry's question on why, just like Doc was saying a little while ago, a lot of those entities be closed on our celebrations, but it's our people that's going into those same entities after our things wait, let me slow down because I'm a little frustrated too. The reason why we see the things that we see within our community is because we constantly waiting on somebody else to come into our community and do for us what we should have been doing for ourselves, period. Every election time, every election cycle, every election season, we always think that candidate, our candidate, going to do for us what we need to be doing for ourselves. How many times we going to take and just keep on waiting instead of pooling our money, power, and resources together, make and build and be the changes that we want to see? The same people that call this radio show every day, all they're doing is constantly talking about the problem, but they're never coming up with solutions to solve the problem. Because if it was, we wouldn't be having the same conversation today. The things that we see today been going on last week, last month, last year, but yet we constantly calling WBOK and putting our problems in other people's hands to come up with solutions for our community. We got to be the ones to wake up and make the changes and build the changes and be the changes that we want to see. If not, we're going to keep on calling this radio station with the same old foolery. You know what? Some of us are even worse than the so-called slave master because we do to us worse than what they've been doing to us. And we constantly have the same conversation, and that's all we're doing, constantly talking and talking and talking with no action. Everybody sits here and just call, this problem and that problem. You know what? The sister from the Amistad, she hit the nail on the nail on the head when she said the reason why some of us are in the predicament that we are in because we got a hold of being in some of these white institutions, and we felt like we made it.
Well, listen, you know,
it's like excellence.
I absolutely appreciate your perspective. Thank you for calling, Aaron.
And then, little brother Aaron, the only thing I'll tell you is that look, the conversations are important, and I hear people talk all the time. Man, every time I come to this meeting, all we doing is talking. Yeah, but you're developing an energy around, and you're manifesting an energy around what you're talking about. You may not even be the one to solve it, but you're creating that topic, right, where someone at some point may step up. A lot of the things that happen, when they happen, they started around a conversation that may have happened years, or even decades before. So, you know,
if I may say this before I leave, brother Olive, if I may say this.
Yes.
The conversation that we talk about, it cannot start at 7 o'clock and then end at 9 o'clock. It has to go beyond that.
Yeah, that's
what I'm saying.
Thank you, Aaron.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, that's a different level of clarity. You're right.
And
okay.
And let me say this too, because I love the fact that we get to clarify things on here when things are said.
Right.
Because I want people to understand.
And I like the fact that our audience respects us, so we can do that.
I mean what I say when I talk about lived experiences of people. I will never discredit someone's lived experience because what I do know is two children can be raised by the same father and mother in the same house in the same community and have two totally different experiences with their parents and with their environment.
Yes, Lord.
So you're not going to sit here and tell me that my experience in the Fisher has no different experience than yours in the Ninth Ward. It absolutely did, because that's your perspective. I can come to your community. I could patronize your store. Notice, and I can come out saying, oh, this is the best customer service I've ever had in my entire life. I got to come back. And 2-3 customers after me could go to your same store and talk to you in the same manner and have a very different experience with you.
Well, let me
come out saying something totally different.
Let me give some credence to that.
Lived experiences are vital.
And this is not to even push back on Larry, but my own experience.
No, it's not. It's just clarity.
My own experience is that, right? Man, you was treated differently depending on what project you came from.
Period.
No,
there's people in this city. Let's be clear, Oliver.
What project you
there's
came
people
from.
in this city that say Algiers is not even a part of New Orleans. There's people who believe that. With their whole chest, they say that.
Don't cross that canal.
Just loud and wrong.
Don't cross that canal.
Loud and wrong.
Don't go down there in that
but
little
that's
nine.
Your experience. You've been taught that that New Orleans only starts on the East Bank. You don't believe that there's parts of New Orleans that's on the opposite side of the bridge.
So there were some projects that if you lived in, man, you was royalty.
Yeah. And there's some projects, if you walk in them and open somebody's door, you don't know that you're in the project.
Absolutely.
Their experience is different than yours. And there's some you could walk in and you're trying to figure out, like, how these surviving.
I can fix this piece, right?
Lived experiences, they matter.
We ain't had ward gangs and ward battles because somebody didn't convince you that your ward was better or different from the other ward.
Yeah.
Period.
Because you know, here in New Orleans, we honor the gangsters, or what they call them, goons. We honor them. There's a badge of honor to know you got a body on you. Yeah. Right, so you rep your neighborhood by its notorious nature.
Correct.
Right, you know what I'm saying, that it had notorious affect on
soldier.
it. Absolutely.
So
we're not gonna act like that live even
Ninth Ward desire. Lower 9 don't mind dying.
Of black folk, right?
I'm from the Fisher.
If you a little lighter,
I'll get you.
Absolutely. That sharks, the sharks in the Fisher.
Sharks in the
Fisher. So let's be very clear. Right. Even with the complexions of our skin, there's black folk come in different shapes, sizes, colors, or whatever. Right. But there, I can remember.
Don't mess up in the wrong place in Morel Road.
But I can remember. Well, I can remember a young man running for office and people telling him he was too dark to represent a certain part of this community.
New Orleans.
Let's just be honest here. So don't act as if this idea of we could come from the same city and have two totally different experiences.
The caste system is real.
It's very real. It's very social economic status is very real. We're not going to act like, you know
what it's like to be the right color but the wrong kind?
Listen.
From the wrong ward?
I have never in my life, and I'm going to tell you this with my entire heart. I have never in my life cared about fitting in to anywhere with anybody to do anything, because I was raised to be an independent thinker. My grandmother taught me that.
Right.
I was raised to be a critical thinker. Right. So the fact that I grew up in the bricks only enhanced my wholeness.
Yeah.
That's all it did, because it makes you understand that I could fight literally and I could fight figuratively.
Yeah.
That's what the project did for me.
I would love to, Larry. I think you ought to have my number if you
You
do.
should have
If
both
you
of
don't.
our numbers,
'Cause I would-
Larry.
Because well, first of all, Larry is.
I like thinkers.
Larry is an intellectual.
Yes.
He's a historian.
Yes.
I think there's some misunderstanding in terms of our conversation. I would love to talk because if anyone knows the history of differences of our community, and especially, and he's a worldwide traveler in his life. Larry, I'd love to talk to you offline and really.
I love when Larry
delve
calls.
into
He
that.
always pushes the conversation, and I
he
just want
does.
him to know that
He
his
does.
perspective will
He does.
always be valued here on
He does.
WBOK.
Hey, man,
Look,
and as
stay
always,
with
the
us.
lines. What do we do?
We talk, right?
Yeah, we light it
Listen,
up.
stay with us after the break. We're going to talk to our partners at Home Bank. This is WBOK 1230 AM.
Station you talking about all day long. Whose station?
Our station.
Girl, you know it's your station.
Sometimes.
Hey everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks.
And Kimber White Dupree.
From the front porch, y'all. You know how we do every Monday. It's Moving Monday.
And Tuesday is Trivia Tuesday.
And y'all know we have nothing but bad cheering coming through here on Wednesday.
But stick with us. On Thursday, we travel.
That's right. And Friday's Free Your Mind Friday, so get your brass up.
Something on your mind? Want to get it off your chest?
Holla at your people. WBOK 1230 AM, the station you listen to.
All day long.
Good morning and happy Friday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's your headlines for the day. Happening today, local nurses plan to put down their charts and pick up signs to join a picket line. The newly formed nurses union at University Medical Center in New Orleans has been negotiating a contract with hospital officials since March. The nurses claim UMC has not satisfied their requests for improved working conditions. UMC says they are prepared for the strike and that patient care will be unaffected. Then tens of thousands of Taylor Swift fans will take over downtown New Orleans this weekend for the highly anticipated Eras Tour. And a heads up, if you were hoping to score some last-minute Swiftie merchandise, the Champion Square Market will only be open today to ticket holders, and once you enter the area, you cannot leave and come back in. Non-ticket holders can still purchase some swag, but you will have to head to the Smoothie King Center to do so. And if you won't be attending one of Taylor's 3 shows in New Orleans, you can still take part in many themed events. Brennan's is hosting a Champagne Problems happy hour fundraiser, and the Rink on Britannia Street will host a Swifties silent disco. Then a final reminder, early voting continues in Louisiana through next Tuesday with the exception of this Sunday. The polls are open from 8:30 to 6 daily. That's today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU. Have a great weekend.
NOLA Public Schools is excited to be on this 2024-25 school year journey with our families, watching our students dive into learning, growth, and success. As the school year continues, our dedicated educators are focused on keeping every student engaged and motivated. Let's keep embracing new challenges, celebrating achievements, and supporting each other to make the rest of this year even more impactful. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS through our social media channels for updates and resources. We're here to help our scholars. Attend today, achieve tomorrow.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month, a service of the community scientist and Rise St. James. This month, we're focusing on lead, a heavy metal that's dense, soft, and poses serious health risks. In Cancer Alley, lead exposure from industrial emissions or contaminated soil can significantly increase cancer risks and other health problems. Stay informed and protect your health. For more information, visit risestjames.org.
New Orleans Burlesque is back. The Red Light District, located on the second floor of your New Orleans headquarters by Nice Guys, presents a captivating, international, award-winning burlesque experience that will leave you breathless. Indulge in the sounds of our Grammy Award-winning quartet and exceptional food pairings each and every Saturday. To purchase tickets, visit Eventbrite.com, and remember, what happens in the Red Light District stays in the Red Light District.
Are you passionate about community safety and police accountability? Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Get the facts and stay informed. We're breaking down complex issues, highlighting community voices, and holding people behind the badge accountable. Join us for an informative hour every Friday at noon on WBOK. Your city, your police, your show. The Monitor's Mic.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Sweetheart Wyatt.
Well,
Big sweetheart.
Let me hurry up and chew this breakfast. One thing about Gavin Lester and Home Bank.
Yeah, that's family. They come and bring goodies.
They bear tidings.
They're like, welcome to the neighborhood. We brought you this basket.
Yeah. Gavin Lester don't never walk in the studio or the community without something.
Well, we're in studio right now, OT and myself, with the phenomenal Calvin Lester from Home Bank. You know, he has his counterpart here, but she never wants to be on air.
Right.
You know, she don't want to talk, but she in here. Her energy is in the room.
Yeah, she is.
She's always in here. But welcome back to the Good Morning Show. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good,
Thank you.
Look great.
It's so good to be here. I'm telling you, to be at the table again and sitting across truly from from power.
You know we're gonna vote for you.
Come on, I'm telling the truth.
Is he on the ballot?
I'm telling the
it's
truth.
coming on the ballot.
I'm telling the truth. Woke up this morning just feeling good. I've got a lot to be thankful for. Just on the housekeeping side, let me just say Home Bank is member FDIC and an equal housing lender. But truly blessed to be here today to continue to kind of share in the conversation as it relates to banking and community development.
And let me say to you,
yes, sir.
And it's a tribute to you, I guess your product, and the people who've called and reached out to you because of your appearance on the show. There are several times out in the community when Home Bank is the conversation with people in the community because of they've listened or they've done some outreach to you guys,
right?
And the product and the service y'all provide. So hey man, it's working. That's all I can tell you.
And that's what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I like the fact that there's home in your name because that's how it feels when we're having these conversations. Like we sitting in the living room, you know, and we have an honest conversation about our finances, and you're really trying to help us grow as opposed to chastising us for getting it wrong. Because, you know, a lot of us mess up early and we have to recover. And I think the recovering is harder than starting from scratch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for us, like, how do you define the role of banks in fostering that community development and those community partnerships?
So let's first define community. So Webster would say community is a collection of or accumulation of people from different walks of life that have a shared interest in and a common purpose to making a community better. So when you drill down just a little bit more and go into community development, it's essential for us to understand the walk and each person's journey and experience in their community. And then, of course, wrapping it all together by making sure we're moving forward as one community.
Yeah, so, like, can you tell our listeners, like, some of the services that are offered by Home Bank? Because, you know, you think about a bank as a checking, it's a savings and all. Well, what other services
and
do
how
you
it
offer?
contributes to the overall economic health of the community.
So we talk a lot about home ownership. That still is today the largest asset that a person can have and own. You can do so much with a home. But we also know that there are just disparities as far as certain demographics in our community not being able to have access to those resources. So home ownership is one you're going to always hear from us, and we're going to always be creating and changing and evolving that product so that it can fit the need, because everybody's walk in home ownership is going to be different. We have a product now that's called Home Access Mortgage, where we finance 100% of the mortgage and keep it in-house. There's no private mortgage insurance required with this product. So, but the best thing about it is that you have a banker for life with this product. It will not be transferred or sold. You know, for those of us who are homeowners, and time to time you'll see your mortgage company gets acquired or whatever, and then it just transfers. You have to learn that company and how they do business. With this product, no, it stays with us, and you have a banker there to walk you through that process, not just to the closing table, but for the remaining of your relationship with the bank.
So are customers who are already homeowners, can they benefit from that specific program? Like, say they're already in the mortgage with a company, existing home. Can they transfer those services over to Home Bank?
So this one is
For new
specifically
homeowners?
for new homeowners.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because you saw how my head leaned to the side. I said, hold up here.
But let me also pivot from home ownership, but also to just entrepreneurship and small business owners. I was sharing this morning on the way here that the economy truly, Dr. Wyatt, is wide open.
Yes.
It really is. There are more new businesses being created and started now more than ever.
Yeah.
But on the flip of that, we do know the statistic is a new business owner that will that businesses normally close within 5 years if they're able to make it that far. So as it relates to that, and those that are, to your listeners that hear this, that are currently business owner or looking to become a business owners, going through entrepreneurship, we have courses, we have connections into our communities with resources that will make sure that they don't become that statistic. But it requires participation from both. In that, if you are having a goal of becoming a homeowner or being able to run and pursue a business, that it's important that you come in and have a relationship with the banker so that they understand what your industry is, to be able to support you in those ups and downs that we go through.
So speaking of that, like, how can you discuss any partnerships your bank has formed with local organizations to enhance your business support?
Absolutely. So I call that the retail politics of the position. So Home Bank has our relationship and our branches, our footprint transcends 3 states. So we're in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. And our largest retail footprint is in Louisiana. So every parish that we're in Louisiana and counties, both in Mississippi and Texas, they each have their own story. And their own unique needs. So it requires us to go in, like you're saying, to know who those nonprofit partners are, understand their mission and who they're targeting in our communities, and then also be able to provide their resource. So to shout out a few of them here in our New Orleans area, these are great community partners that have a track record of not just walking the walk or talking the talk, but they're there with their customers. That would be like People's Housing Plus, Broad Community Connections. Also our good friend in the community, Mr. Perry Scholes, who runs Sealy.
He was just here yesterday.
We love
Shout
Perry.
out to Perry.
Perry does it well. Perry has us top of mind. And what I love about Home Bank, Dr. Wyatt, it really is. All I have to do is say, this is where we are in our New Orleans market, and this is what I'm hearing on the ground. This is what information we've gathered from our nonprofit partners, and we will truly sit down with that nonprofit partner and kind of come up with a resource that fits their need.
Listen, we're talking to Kelvin Luster, Senior Vice President of Community Development Director. If you want to speak to Kelvin or talk all things Home Bank, the number here is 504-582-9422. We appreciate this partnership. It's always like you just learn so much when you're sitting in front of somebody who knows so much about banking. But tell me, how do you measure the bank's commitment to the community investment? How does your bank measure that?
Yeah.
Like, how do you see it in the data?
Come on.
Mhm.
So that's you just used the keyword data.
Mhm.
So it brings me to mind about leadership. So everybody thinks leadership looks a certain way. It's the person that's in the front. It's the person's on the mic. It's who is the most popular. That's not how Home Bank measures leadership. It really is the metrics is what's saying that we're being effective, that we're able to hear those needs and answer those needs. So when you look at supporting those in our community who are the most vulnerable, which are our seniors, in providing assistance for home renovations or roof replacements, also supporting the veterans as well. That's how we measure our true success, in that our community is making improvements and that we are folding in those that tend to not be thought of first of mind.
Look, I always appreciate having conversations where I'm learning, right? Because, you know, I shared a little bit of my personal story with you the last time you were here. And that's why I talk so much about, you know, life be life, and like mistakes happen. You could try your best, and you could do your best, but most of us are out here robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we still ain't got no money to pay Paul. So we need people like you in our lives to make certain that we are fiscally responsible with the money that we are making, and we're using it responsibly. So listen, we're going to continue the conversation after the break with Kelvin Luster. Stay with us after the break. WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
We're off to a mild start, but eventually temperatures warming back up to the mid-80s with mostly sunny skies. It'll be a great weekend forecast for all the events, mostly sunny with highs Saturday and Sunday reaching the low to mid-80s. Even some upper 80s are possible. Next chance for rain is next week. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Mommy, want to play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with DayQuil VapoCool. It's DayQuil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
Come on, honey. Let's let Mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is DayQuil VapoCool.
DayQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, everybody. It's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. We are having some in-depth conversation with Kelvin Luster, Senior Vice President, Community Development Director. I'm talking about he wear all kind of hats up in here. He need to have a skincare line, because if you see his skin, you're gonna be trying to ask, what you use on your skin? It's so clear. Guess when you making that good money, you go for that good skin product, right? Okay. But listen, we're talking all things home bank, community development, and we have nobody to do it better than Kelvin Luster. So let's talk about highlighting some of the successful community banking initiatives that your bank has implemented. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so if I could just kind of let's put a word in mind.
Yes.
So when you think about I can't help it. It's just going to come out. So the Bible says that that hope deferred makes the heart sick. And there are a lot of people, including myself, have experienced living feeling sick because we don't have answers to the questions and the problems that we are facing each day. Now, the bank wears a lot of hats. It can't fix everything. But it's important that people know how the bank plays a part in moving and answering some of the questions and concerns and needs that they have.
Yes.
So just like for instance, this year we rolled out a new program, and I mentioned a little bit on the last one was Fortified Roof. So we are targeting and specifically looking for by income those that are again considered low and or moderate or just income sensitive, and they clearly look around and see that there's some things that they need done, and they don't know how to move forward in achieving that. I want them to hear, the listeners today, to hear this and just feel hope in that even if you're not banking with Home Bank, this is still happening at your bank. We just don't know.
Right.
So I'm here to tell you, if you're not a customer of Home Bank, which you should be, but if you are not, you should. It's honestly, make sure you reach out to your bank and ask them about small investments, forgivable grants, as well as some subsidies that can help you get into home ownership. If there's something targeted and catered around veterans, catered around seniors, replacing roofs, all of those products are there in your banking institution.
Listen, if you want to talk to Kelvin Luster, the number here is 504-582-9422. You got the lines lit up. The people want to know. Welcome to the Good Morning Show, Inez.
Grand Rising, Doctor.
Oh, that's my soror. Shout out to the exquisite women of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated.
All right, 7-Eleven all the way.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. So I have a very important question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a business that is very indicative to New Orleans, and I bank with a particular bank. And I'm definitely looking to switch over because when you're in New Orleans and you're in the business that I do, and banks are not for the community, and they're very large banks, and they don't understand the culture in which we work in, they tend not to want to fund or support or give lines of credit. So can you tell me how your bank is different from your Chase, your Whitney, your Hancock, that, majority of people of color, this is where we go.
Right. Yes, ma'am. It's a great question. Let me say that in the financial sector, we're all partners. Now, every bank has pretty much similar products, but each line has its own niche, so to speak. So we work closely with all of those partners, like she mentioned. But what I would say to your specific need in as it relates to a business line of credit or an operating line, it really comes down to having a conversation, knowing who the banker is, but also setting up time to just check in. The biggest thing that really deters a lot of decisions on credits is your particular banker may not fully understand the industry that you're in. And you could be in that downturn that we were just talking about, in that I need to be able to have some support during this time of the year. Your job or that your line of work could be seasonal, but they need to understand that so they know how your business will flow and work.
Well, I have a good relationship with my banker.
Yes, ma'am.
But the banker does not make the final decision on, what funds are going to go. I work in the Mardi Gras business.
Okay.
And there's only one group of people of color. That's myself and my husband. So when we step in, we're already questionable. because the finance people are not in they're not in the city, so they don't know the Mardi Gras industry. All they know is the big names.
So this is what I will tell you, Soror. I think that you need to set up a meeting with Kelvin Lester over at Home Bank and have that personal conversation with him, because she is the only black float builder.
Okay.
And so I think it's important that she understands the type of, understand the type of business she runs. So how about you set up a meeting with Kelvin at Home Bank and have that conversation with him, and I think you guys can walk together towards a solution for you.
Sounds great.
All right, thank you, Soror.
Looking forward to it.
Bye-bye.
Look, Miss Alicia is on line 3. Welcome to the Good Morning Show, Miss Alicia. You're on with Kelvin Lester from Home Bank.
Good morning, good morning. I'd like to call in and give kudos to people. Mr. Lester, one of my dear friends, and I would say a colleague, Percy Manson with Home Bank.
Yes, ma'am.
You know Percy?
I do.
Okay. Well, take this to the top so that Percy can get some kudos and a raise, a bonus, or whatever. Absolutely awesome guy. Awesome in the community. Most especially, though, could you please explain to people the history of Home Bank, how it started, who started it, because I think that'll make a change for people to change their banking into Home Bank.
Yes,
My
ma'am.
only thing that don't like about Home Bank, and maybe you guys will change, is Saturday hours. You all need some Saturday hours desperately. But otherwise, I think you all are great. I think your community service is great. And kudos to Percy Manson for what all he does for y'all bank.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your call.
Yeah.
You got to be doing something if the people asking you to expand your
Come
hours.
on.
They say you need some Saturday
Come on,
hours.
and I hate that she didn't that she's not. It sounds like she's not aware, but we do have Saturday hours. So I do want to just say that to you, that we do have Saturday hours. It is at our Veterans Branch on Saturdays, and we're open from 8:30 to 12.
So maybe that's what she's saying, the branch that she services, because you have a Home Bank on Manhattan, which is close to me. And so maybe the one she's going to doesn't have those Saturday hours. But Miss Alicia, there is at least one Home Bank in the city that has Saturday hours, and that's on Veterans.
That's on Veterans.
That's on Veterans. So if you need Home Bank and to service Home Bank, you would have to go on Veterans.
Yes, on Saturday.
On Saturday. Yeah. Other than that, you could go to your local branch and
absolutely
and get to the business. But thank you for your call, Miss Alicia. Thank you for your call, Soror. But I think back to Inez, that's her name, Inez Pierre's point. There is a deficit area there when your bank doesn't understand the culture of the business that you're doing. So they don't really even know how lucrative it is because they may not have Mardi Gras and floats and parades wherever they're housed.
Right.
And so they may not see the significance of funding an operation such as hers. But if you knew anything about the city of New Orleans and you knew about the culture of Mardi Gras, because it's not just happening in New Orleans, it's just probably not happening where that person is. But if you knew the significance of it, you would understand that that's a lucrative space to be in, and you will fund it because you know that the return on your investment is there already. And so I think having that conversation with you will help move her and her husband's business in the direction that she ultimately wants to go, which is, I'm sure, to expand.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's literally a husband and wife operation.
Yeah.
Just them.
Wow.
And they're doing phenomenal work in the float building business.
See, that's the reason why Home Bank is so special. To her request of just kind of going through the history of the bank, it is 116 years old, formed in 1908. It is headquartered out of Lafayette, Louisiana. 44 branches across 3 states. We have 6 in our New Orleans market. But it's a community bank that really wants to be the best, not for the reasons that most organizations or companies are just about a bottom line. We truly want to be the bank that you call on and that you feel comfortable with doing your business with, but we want you to leave happy.
Well, listen, I know the members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated were happy to hear that 1908. I mean, that's what I said. 1908. I said, ooh, yeah. So there's an organization out there that was founded in that same year, so I know they were happy to see that. But shout out to the Divine Nine, and all of those.
Come on, Dr. Wyatt. But Dr. Wyatt, let me say too that I don't want people to be comfortable in a safe space wherever they are right now, but not moving their goals forward.
Yeah.
It's too many times we've heard no and we just don't think it's coming. And I want to share just with you on my last visit here, we were talking about opportunities to improve, make home improvements, and I was covering some of the resources that we had. Now that time has kind of come out. We're approaching the end of the year, but it's going to come around again in January. But one of the callers had called in and shared his story about his experience, through the banking system throughout his life, and it wasn't the best. And although I don't know him personally, I didn't sympathize. I empathized for his story and his experience in the banking sector, and it touched me to the point I left. I gave my number out on air, which I never do, and I told him to directly call me, and because I felt what he was saying, and it was just time for him to hear yes. So to get back home and then wait on the call, and the reach here at WBOK goes far. And when but I never heard from him. But I heard from everyone else, and I know they want to cut to a break. But as soon as we get back, I want to finish what happens next.
But ain't no getting back, unless you're gonna go on the front porch with Kimber and Graylin.
Come on,
you have 30 seconds.
I got 30 seconds
to talk to the people.
Let me tell you. So I did not get a call from that caller, but I did get a call, and so we were able to help others in our community. But to that story, the purpose is I don't want anybody to stop moving their agenda forward because they're hearing no. Keep going so you can until you hear your yes.
Well, listen, you have heard from Kelvin Luster, the Senior Vice President and Community Development Director for Home Bank. And if you want to reach Kelvin, you can reach Kelvin Luster at home24bank.com. So if you are that listener and you did not reach out to Kelvin after he gave you his personal number, here's his email, Kelvin Luster at home24bank.com. Please reach out. This has been a phenomenal show. We've got to talk to our partners at Home Bank. We talk all things what's on your ballot, and OT, we're praying for you. Yes. This is WBOK 1230 AM. Stay with us. I invite you to the front porch with Graylin and Kimber. I will see you on Monday, WBOK 1230 AM.
Let's go!
What New Orleans is always talking about.